Hey, so today I'm going to talk about my favorite tool for identifying mystery fasteners. They help me a lot with bins of loose screws that I have and need to match sometimes. Uh, you might have heard of the Screw Chek'r, but I've never found a video that goes through all the information it can tell you because there's a lot. There are two sizes for the inch and the metric screw checkers, so if either of these is too small for your needs, try the next size up. They're about 20 bucks each, but really helpful. They work with most kinds of small fasteners. They're made in America, which is cool. They're steel. They have actual threads in some of their holes, so you don't have to use other gauges to do that, or like kind of fit it into particular grooves. You can just go with the tactile feeling of screwing it in. Disclaimer, I'm probably going to get some terminology wrong. This is one of those situations where I've read something about it but not really been able to have conversations. So, yeah, sorry, I don't really know how to use taps. But if you do, I think this is useful, so I'm going to try and give some information about that. I do want to caution people, make sure you have a copy of the little instructions that come with the Screw Chek'rs. They're really helpful and have some important information in it, like some suggested sizes for tap drills may differ a little bit because this is specifically for 75% of full thread, which basically a lot of it depends on what material you're working with and what kind of fit you want. So you may see varying recommendations for these numbers, the small variation. So take a picture of both sides or scan it if you can, and there are some PDFs on the internet if you track them down. Last thing before I get into the specific screw checkers, metric fasteners will not work on the inch model. Things measured by the inch will not work on the metric model. So I have both, and I can compare things vaguely with the diameter columns, inch diameter columns, but really you need both if you don't know exactly what kind of fastener you're working with. So I'm going to start with the inch model, uh, 4-inch screws, also called the imperial measurement system, I think. And you can start by measuring the length of a fastener up here. So this is the part of the video that I got up on 4 a.m. on Christmas morning to correct. So hopefully there aren't any terrible mistakes this time. I'm going to start talking about size, which you can see is in this column. And it looks pretty straightforward. Goes from 1 to 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, 12, and then 1/4 and 5/16. And I do want to point out that those are not all the sizes for a kind of complicated reason. And that reason is that the numbers are their own diameter, which can be matched to the closest decimal diameter or the closest fraction. But neither of those things will be quite on the dot. So if you notice here, there are also some other sizes that are on the very far left. Yeah. So those are the ones that are rounded into fractions. And on the other side, you have things that are rounded in diameter into decimals. Just circle that whole row. Squeak. There are occasionally things that will match up, like number 5 is 1/8, and then you go across to find 125 is the diameter, which those are the same numbers essentially. So the last thing about size would be some outliers that are just kind of special cases. And you can see there are 2 holes to the left, and those have sizes but are not that related to the rest of the stuff. Okay, 9/32. It's a little more of a pain to find the clearance holes for these, but now we're back in the fractional measurements for bits, and we can tell that 9/32 as a size would need a 9/32 clearance drill bit. So next is the clearance drill bit size. Those you can find under the hole that you just sized the fastener with, and they're for drilling holes that it can pass easily through, which is another kind, another reason that they don't have threads, whereas the rest of these do. These numbers here, I'll just circle them, are all kind of the size of bit that you would need to do a clearance hole. So next come the tap series in threads per inch. And the tap series is up here. It is either National Coarse, National Fine, or National Special. National Coarse means the threads are further apart and there are less per inch. Fine means they are closer together and there are more per inch. Special just means they're special, I think, and don't really fit with the other two. So as far as threads per inch, you find that in this column. They are the numbers to the left of this column of holes. Yeah, I think that's all of them. And then, so I'll just say thread per inch there, and in the National Fine, it is this column, and in the Special, it is this column. So next is the tap drill bit. That is the drill bit that you need to make the right tap hole. And again, it can vary according to material and the kind of fit that you want. This is, again, below the number in the column. In this case, instead of being below the drill size for a clearance hole, it's below the threads per inch. So it goes this way. This is going to be boring for a minute, but I want to be pretty thorough if I can. Ta-da! And last, for the imperial slash inch measurements, there is the diameter in inches instead of fractions, as the drill bit sizes are over there. And I am not totally sure how much good this does, but I use it to measure against the metric fastener gauge, which I will bring out now. So the metric one is a little more confusing for me, but since we've already done the inch one, I hope it'll be a little easier to follow. First, you can, in the same way as the inch checker, you can measure the length of a fastener at the top. Next, I'm going to talk about size and ISO choice. And I'll say right off the bat, I don't understand ISO choice. I know it is part of a designation for fasteners that's determined by the International Organization for Standardization. There's first, second, and third choice, which just to me means there's 3 columns to look at with no threads. So I know the letters seem out of order, but it was probably in another language first. So I'm gonna just keep going to the size in millimeters diameter, because that's a lot simpler. It's the size of the fastener is just the diameter. So 2 millimeters, 2.2 millimeters, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5 way over there, 6 and 7 millimeters. Next is the clearance drill bit. That is, again, just the bit used to make a clearance hole. However, it is placed a little oddly in this one because it goes across all 3 columns, but it will always be the number that is just below the size hole. I'm going to go through, circle these real quick, because I often miss one. Okay. The inch diameter is just how it translates into imperial measurements, or the inch system is diameter inch, and on the other one it can be found here. So now I'm going to start with pitch and tap series. Pitch is essentially serves the same function as threads per inch does in the inch measurements, and the coarse and fine categories are the tap series that you would use. So this to the left of the hole, these are all threaded holes now, is the pitch, which in the case of the metric system and differs from the, I'm going to stop this for a minute, differs from the threads per inch system in that, well, it is the distance between the outermost edges of the thread. So very, very, very small measurements. Tap series, of course, yeah. So here, 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 here. Am I missing any? Nope. And last, there is the tap drill bit. Like on the inch card, it is the small number or letter under the hole in the last 2 columns here. I'll just circle those quick. Sorry about the squeaky marker. That is probably especially annoying to some people, but it's almost over. And then, so this is just one of my favorite tools for matching fasteners from a big bucket of screws and bolts with different patinas. That's why it's useful to me. That's why I like to recommend it to other assemblage artists and makers who use that kind of thing. I, again, would urge people to do more research if they're using it for machining purposes, because that's not my area of expertise. This is just me giving a shot at a video that I wish I had seen on YouTube before when I first wanted to understand this tool a little better. In my ideal world, this would help people understand some of the crossover that different fields of maker's experience and how different tools can be useful in a lot of different ways. And that's really all that I have for today. Thank you very much. Bye.